A new report from Helene St. James says that the Detroit Red Wings are, in fact, interviewing candidates. Is it actually over 100, though, or is that a little bit of an exaggeration?
You're Locked On Red Wings, your daily podcast on the Detroit Red Wings. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back to the Locked On Red Wings podcast. We are your hosts, Brian Fisher and Scotty Bentley, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. And Scotty, because we recorded on Thursday last week, I wouldn't say there was a lot of news regarding the Red Wings, but there was a lot of discourse about the Red Wings, as there is this offseason, over those last few days between our last recording and this one, regarding the Red Wings GM search. They made a small trade. So we'll talk about both of those things. We will also do an Albert Johansson player preview. And then if we have time, we have a very good mailbag question that we want to talk about. If we don't have time to talk about it on this episode, it will be a topic on next episode, because it assuming no breaking news, of course, happens. But it's a good one regarding what would it take for Dylan Larkin to win back the fans, because reconciling with the organization is one thing. Reconciling with the fans is a whole nother ordeal. So if we have time to get to that today, we will. Otherwise, we will dedicate more time to it on Wednesday's episode. Before we can get to any of that, got to let you guys know today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Join all the action at FanDuel.com to play daily dingers and make your free pick on who's hitting a homer this MLB season. All right, Scotty, let's talk about this article from Helene St. James of the Detroit Free Press that came out over the weekend. I think it was actually Thursday or Friday, this article came out after, of course, we had recorded, because we did a Wednesday episode, which means we recorded on a Wednesday. There was a little bit of a fervor on social media where people had come to the belief that the Red Wings had not interviewed anyone for the GM job. Like, there was this belief that this had not happened yet because we had not heard of anyone being interviewed. And that kind of goes back to something I complained about last month, is how there's been very little communication from the organization in regards to the search and whether or not we as fans are owed it. I think to some degree, like, ownership's just going to tell us to kick rocks. But the other hand, we're paying customers, so we don't need to know the nitty gritty details, but at least confirm that you are doing the search. And after this belief circulated on social media that there was no GM search going on or no interviews going on, Ryan Hanna of the Winged Wheel podcast, I believe, was the first one with his sources to confirm that, yes, they have been and continue to do interviews. So there we got our communication. And then later in the day, Helene St. James of the Detroit Free Press came out with an article where she had talked to somebody within the organization. And based on the quotes that were in that article from Helene's article, someone very high up in the organization, just based on the way the quotes sounded or the way I interpreted them. That's my speculation. And that's where I really want to talk about, is this article from Helene St. James, because there is some interesting quotes in there. And basically, I want to discuss BS meter with you, Scotty. And because I read this article and there's just some things that either are BS or are from the source, not Helene's writing. The article's very good. But from this source, the quotes, the people she spoke with, either they're BSing the fan base or it just doesn't make any sense. And I think the first place I want to start is there's a few quotes, and I'll see if I can't find the quote here. It says, people forget that right around the Olympic break, we were not only contending for a playoff berth, but we were in first place. So it's hard to say, hey, armchair GM, why didn't you do this in April? Alluding to the firing of Steve Yzerman. And the real reason is because we didn't want to make knee-jerk decisions. We want to be super thorough. And before that, it says, from the very beginning, we were never going to let the process or the timeline dictate. We were always going to be super thorough. I can tell you that when we moved on from Steve, we did it really strategically. So with the knowledge that they moved on from Steve in mid-June? Was it July? It was mid-July. It was after the free agency. Sorry, timeline. Been a long summer. BS meter, where are you at on that quote?
Well, for starters, sorry. Had a heck of a weekend with some fellas down in Texas, and it'll take me a few days to recover. But this quote is preposterous, and obviously, as you mentioned, I want to continue to reiterate the Helene St. James part of it is not like that's a real quote from her source. Like that, this is nothing to do with Helene St. James, who's obviously one of the most prominent beat writers in this entire city. It is preposterous. The part that really gets me is the very end. Can you repeat that part? Do you still have it pulled up?
I can tell you that when we moved on from Steve, we did it really strategically.
That is the most ridiculous sentence I've ever heard in my life, because no, you didn't. And if you think you did, then there's a bigger issue here. Like one of two things is true. We were talking about this off air, right? One of two things is true. One, that was a PR quote that they gave to the beat writers or gave to Helene St. James to try to make it look like they had put a lot more thought into this, like they actually did, which is where I'm leaning. And the reason why I'm leaning is not because I'm giving them the benefit of the doubt. It's actually the opposite. I think that the other one is so unbelievably stupid that I cannot possibly fathom that is the direction that they picked. And that is that it's 100% factual, and that they actually think that them taking as long as they did and as thorough as they did was beneficial to the organization in some way, shape, or form. They completely, I remember what I said when this was announced. The first thing I said in that episode was they can't even fire somebody right. They screwed this up so badly, and it got them to a point where they fired their GM after everybody else had already hired and fired their GMs. So there's no candidates. Free agency is over. The draft is over. And your disgruntled captain is already a month plus into wanting, submitting a trade request. They could not have, in the 12-month calendar, I actually don't think they could have picked a worse singular month in the entire calendar to fire Steve Yzerman than the one they actually effing chose. So no, they are either lying or they are the most ridiculous people on the face of the planet. And I'm not sure which one is worse.
Yeah, and also remember at the beginning I said that it feels like this source must be pretty high up in the organization because of the we're always going to be super thorough. We did it really strategically. Like, so this feels like it's coming from close, if not the top, close to the top. Again, my interpretation, my speculation. But I echo your sentiments where it's like, if your idea of strategy, like let's say, for example, they're telling the truth, your idea of strategy and deliberating and hemming and hawing about firing your GM lasts so long because you're so worried about making the right call for the Detroit Red Wings that you waited until
you made the wrong
after the draft and after the free agency. You let Steve Yzerman negotiate trades, negotiate free agent deals, and run your draft in which, and I like JP Hurlbert, but you let a lame duck GM trade away a first-round prospect, a previous first-round draft prospect, for a first-round pick this year. Like, that's not an insignificant trade. Now, the trade itself, I agree with, but it's the principle of the idea, the principle of the fact that you let a lame duck GM do all this because you were being strategic about whether or not or when or why you wanted to fire Steve Yzerman or promote him. Like that my BS meter goes off the charts. Like, yes, maybe I am the armchair GM in this quote. I literally have an armchair right here. It makes no sense to me. So it's either they're lying and they're in a fashion to try and appease the fan base
Yeah.
by being like, oh no, we didn't do this. Just
They're
like
either trying to cover their behind in an awful way, or they're honest and awful at
right.
doing this. Like it's mind blowing.
And like, again, it's a great article from Helene St. James to finally get some quotes from somebody in the organization, just know what's happening or get an idea of what's happening. But some of these quotes from this source, it just sets off my BS. Like, I would need it explained to me in a way that makes sense, because I cannot think of a way that makes sense right now. And there's more quotes in here that, Scotty, like, I want to talk to you about, because there's one more that really
we're already
alarms
11
me.
in, dude. It felt like that was 2 minutes long.
The Larkin thing is not happening. It took me 5 minutes to set it up, which is my fault. But the Larkin thing is probably already getting pushed. Like, we have 2 more quotes that I really want to hammer home. So stay tuned to segment 2 of Lockdown Red Wings. Baseball fans, if you think you know who's hitting a homer today, FanDuel is giving you a free chance to call your shot with daily dingers. It's easy to play. Just make your free pick who you think will hit a home run in their game. If you're right, you'll receive a profit boost to use on your next bet for a chance at extra winnings. Best of all, you can make your free pick every day throughout the MLB season. Daily Dingers is another fun way to stay engaged with every day's games, whether you're following your favorite team or keeping an eye on matchups across the league. Every game has someone capable of going deep. Now you get the chance to make your prediction before first pitch. So, are you ready to play your game today? Join all the action at FanDuel.com. That's FanDuel.com to play Daily Dingers and make your free pick on who's hitting a homer. Play ball and swing for the fences on FanDuel, an official partner of the MLB.
Lord have mercy.
We got big head mode back. All right, Scotty, while you fix that, I'm going to move on to the other quote here. Yeah. And this one, I feel, got more attention on social media than, honestly, I thought that what we just talked about in segment 1 was the most egregious part of the article, personally.
Agreed.
But trying to find it here as I scroll. Here it is. Chris challenged everyone. Let's go find the next leader that's going to bring a Stanley Cup to Detroit. From whatever level they're at in the organization that they're with right now, the source said, let's go find that person. And we started with over 100 names, and we are making our way methodically through that in a manner where we're being strategic, trying to figure out how do we get the right person in the role. And this one was the one that certainly caught more fire on social media, because 100 names is a lot of names to start off with. And I find it really hard to believe you'd have over 100 names that are serious candidates for the position. So my question here with the BS meter is, like, do you think they actually had over 100 names? And then if so, like, do you think they could have even gotten 100 quality names?
Yeah. I don't know. Like, this just feels very, like, technically, yes. I'm sure that's not, like, it feels like a weird number to just, like, make up. Like, you know what I mean? I'm sure that they did start.
Unless they're exaggerating for effect to, again, appease the fans. Like, that's the only way.
I guess that's not impossible, but it's just, to me, it's like, I don't know. At some point, what's the difference between, like, we started with 50 names versus, like, why 100's
exactly.
A lot? Like, 100's a lot of names. So I guess I think it's probably true, but I also think that it's like, every person we get, like Dale from accounting is like, option
right.
104. Like, it's like, sure, you have over 100 names, but to your point, how many are serious candidates? There is a 0% chance they had over 100 people that they were like, there's a real chance that all 100 of these people could be our next GM. That's impossible.
Scotty, you might be on the list. Yeah. If it's over 100 names, like, you might be on there.
Then we're all in trouble, but yeah.
That's the thing, is like, I think the mindset is like if they were exaggerating for effect, right? Like, let's not rule that out immediately. If they were exaggerating for effect, the mindset, if I were to put myself in that person's shoes, would be like, if I say like we're being thorough, the more names sounds the better. But like, I think the opposite is true. Like, because as you put, it's so hard to, especially this late in the hiring cycle, right? Where a lot of the top candidates are already gone. It is hard to imagine them having 100 candidates who they are serious about, which either indicates that they just got a huge list and they cut half of them right off the bat, if not more, or that they really only had a small number of serious candidates. Like, it's, I don't know, like, what's the point of having a huge list if you're going to wipe out 75% of them right from the get-go? If they had said 20 people,
I guess to your point, like to sound good, right? This whole thing just reeks of like,
or to be like, we're being super like we're not just looking at like, because I don't want like a Brad Tree living. We're not just going to go down beaten paths. We want to bring the next championship level here, so we're looking at off the beaten path candidates, which is something I want. And maybe that's the implication. Yeah. Like, again, playing devil's advocate, maybe they're saying over 100.
You could have
at every avenue.
Right. You could have a list of 8 people and be off the beaten path because everyone else has already done it. It goes back to the original point. Like 3 people, you're going to be off the, you pretty much are in a position where the only option you have is off the beaten path. With Jeff Greenberg's a candidate. What are we talking about? What are we talking about, dude? I am so dumbfounded by this is an awful episode to not have a voice for. I'm so dumbfounded by this entire scenario. It is mind-blowing to me.
I struggle to find, like, unless they're going like all, and then, you know, video coaches, agents, like they all make the leap. They can make the leap and be really good. Bill Zito made the leap. He's been very good. Like, I could foresee them having over 100 candidates, but like, it just seems if you have over 100 candidates, then your initial list isn't very strong. Like,
right. Yeah.
It just seems like then you don't know what you're doing and you're like, just get everyone as possible. And then it just seems like it's too much. But that is less egregious than the first quote. But here's the third quote, Scotty. The third quote is, and the article is reloading on me, I'm not going to comment on specifics on where we're at and interview process or timeline because I don't want to paint a picture that, you know, we have a specific date. Yes, we'd like to have somebody in by training camp. But at the end of the day, what people should feel really confident in is that we're turning over every stone and going through a strategic, that word comes up again, process. Now, hey, I'll say one nice thing. I appreciate the emphasis on the turning over every stone and going off the beaten path, trying to find the right person. Like, that sentiment does come across like that was clearly the goal of the statement, of the quotes from this person, to be like, we are being very thorough. And to that, I appreciate, because we want someone different. But it really falls flat when in the same quote, you're saying, well, we might not have somebody by training camp. Because you know what that also means? If you don't have a GM by training camp, who else do you not have by training camp?
Well, I mean, I guess you do still have Dylan Larkin.
Well, I'm talking about Simon Edvinson, because
yeah, sure.
Article this weekend says that his agent said they're not going to sign a contract till they have a new GM. So
I wouldn't either. Why would you?
Right. It's just
it's ridiculous. All of this is so absurd. And I think that they think that these quotes are helping. And I think anybody who is like familiar with, I don't know, just like the game of hockey in any capacity is like very easily, like, I feel like the entire fan base is just like, what are you talking about? Like,
right.
What does any of this mean? What are you saying right now? You're just making stuff up for fun.
And like, I get the purpose, right, of these quotes from this source.
I get the intent.
Right? I get the intent. It's to appease the fan base. One, I appreciate they finally gave us some confirmation things are happening. I could have guessed that, right? Like I wasn't part of I'm sometimes part of the fervor online, but in this instance, I was not part of the fervor online because I was like, they have to be interviewing people. There's no way they're not.
Right.
But getting that confirmation, getting that communication is something that I had asked for. So I'm not going to be a hypocrite and complain now about that now that they have communicated with us. Like, I appreciate the fact that we have it confirmed by multiple sources. They are, in fact, doing interviews. But just to know they have a pulse is all I was really needed. Right. And I do understand the intent that they're being very thorough because they really want to take the next step. I appreciate that. But some of these quotes, as we've discussed in this episode, kind of go so far as to being, like, again, triggering that BS meter.
For
like
sure.
You had over 100 candidates. There's no way you had over 100 serious candidates. You're okay with waiting until training camp? Like, way to show a lack of urgency when you have an RFA and Simon Edmondson who needs a new contract and a pending trade request, which, being honest, probably will not be fulfilled, if at all, until partway through the season at this point.
For sure.
Like, and then to say that you did it, you fired Yzerman strategically is just, if that's true, that is so stupid. So I appreciate and thank you for the communication. Thank you for showing a pulse, but that's crazy.
I love it. I absolutely love it.
Crazy.
Thank you so much for doing what I asked, but that is absolutely insane.
Not like that. Thank you. Not like that. Like, I feel I kind of feel like a hypocrite for complaining now that we finally got communication. It's just the way that it was conveyed is like,
I wouldn't.
The BS meter on me. It's just like this.
It reeks. It stinks like a dumpster. It's absurd, dude. What are we talking about?
Crazy.
Yeah, man. We've interviewed 3,072 people for this job, and we fired him after everything was already done in the offseason intentionally because it was the strategic move. 2 for 2, buddy, for sure.
But hey, you know what? I will thank Ryan and Helene St. James for confirming the poll
100%.
And for writing the article.
100%.
Helene, she didn't make the Red Wings say these things. She just reported what they said.
No,
so
and
appreciate that.
Yeah,
shout out for
Helene St. James is, and obviously Ryan and everybody at Wing Wheel. I mean, that's why those people that have sources and are connected and tuned in are they're obviously great at their jobs, and it gives us insight as to what the I guess, to your point, the pulse of the organization is, whether that's good or bad.
Right. Scotty, let's head to another break. When we return, the Red Wings made a small signing it was a signing. It was a trade and then a signing.
Old sign and trade.
Old sign and trade. Well, trade and sign.
Trade
I don't know
what
order. Which order did it happen in? I don't know.
Chicken or egg situation.
Ham and egg. We'll talk about that in segment 3. And then obviously the Albert Johansson thing that's on the show sheet isn't going to happen in this episode, but the offseason isn't over yet. So we got plenty of time to preview Albert Johansson. Stay tuned to segment 3 of Locked On Red Wings. All right, Scotty. The Detroit Red Wings made a trade on Thursday, sending future considerations to the Nashville Predators in return for 2023 5th-round pick by the Nashville Predators, Sutter Muzzatti. He is a 6'6", 230-pound forward. They then signed him to a entry-level contract worth, it was a 2-year entry-level contract. So small move by the Detroit Red Wings for sure, but what do you make of it?
I mean, I guess that it's a small depth move, really. I think that it's probably one of, they traded their other, 7-foot tall forward, and he kind of blossomed in the change of scenery. So they're down one and trying to, I guess, get a very large body back in the front line. But no, I mean, to me, this is really just an organizational depth move. He's a guy that, when you have that kind of size, obviously as a forward, it is, I guess, a lot of the like Soderblom conversation regurgitated, right? Like you can hopefully get some intangibles or he has some intangibles that, he can use, if he utilizes the body the way that Michael Rasmussen doesn't, then, you might be in store for a guy that can be a pretty decent bottom six guy. But I'm not expecting him to break camp and be top line left wing on opening night or anything. Like he's organizational depth until proven otherwise.
Yeah, I mean, if the Nashville Predators were very high on him, they would have kept him, right? They gave him up to us, up to the Red Wings for nothing. But he did have a pretty nice breakout year as a power forward for the Notre Dame this last year. 32 points in 37 games, and obviously noted a big body, was very, very heavy already in the right kind of ways. So there is still something there that could be good for the Red Wings if they can work on it. Like, that's still a player worth taking a flyer on. He's also from Okemos, Michigan. Like, he's literally from here. He played for Honey Baked when he was AAA. His father played for Michigan State Spartans, played for the Hartford Whalers as well, Flint Generals. So, like, his dad's from here. So it very much is like coming back home. They'll probably play in either Toledo or Grand Rapids. It's most likely organizational depth. But they signed him to a 2-year entry-level contract as well. So it's also taking a flyer on a guy who might be more, but if he doesn't, it's not like the biggest loss in the world. But if you can turn the 6'6" kid into something for the bottom six, like that's a big win for giving up nothing in return.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, zero issue with it value-wise, certainly.
Any other thoughts on anything we talked about in this episode? I know it's a little bit shorter, but we have plenty of content for Wednesday now.
Yeah, certainly no other thoughts. My vocal cords will thank me later. I think ultimately this is just I really hope I'm wrong about like everything I've said about the Wings the entire summer. Like, isn't that such like a disgusting place to be? It's like, I hope I'm wrong about all of it. Like, I hope that they did it so intentionally because they have some master plan, and whoever they pick is going to come in and just right the ship immediately, and we're going to find out that they couldn't have even gotten the perfect candidate if they did it earlier. So, like, I hope I'm wrong about all of it, but I just, this reeks of what, garbage. Like, this is just foul smelling, and I hope that we can. I don't know. Like I said, I hope that it all works out, but vibes are low in August in 2026 here and for the Wings.
Yeah, you just hope they make the right hire, and the right hire comes in and makes the most of the situation, gets the team back into the playoffs to become a Stanley Cup. Crap, for right now, we would just appreciate competing for a Stanley Cup, but one day becoming a legitimate Stanley Cup threat and winning a championship, because then all of this complaining is washed away, right? Like, biggest is winning. But some of those quotes, that the source is, some of it smelled a little bit for sure. Scotty, let's wrap it up. We'll be back with a new episode on Wednesday. Stay tuned for that. Same time, same place. We ball. Your team every day.